Throughout human history, certain plants have captivated the imagination of cultures across the world. Some have been used for healing, others for fabric or food. And a few, like cannabis, have acquired layers of meaning that go far beyond their biological nature. In this video, we delve into an intriguing narrative that bridges the ancient and the modern. A story that involves mythology, ritual, and the question, what happens when a myth meets a modern plant? This is not a guide on usage. Instead, it is a journey from the temples of ancient Egypt to the present day, exploring ideas, context, and the meanings people attach to cannabis throughout time. In ancient Egyptian belief, Thoth was a deity associated with wisdom, writing, and the measurement of time. Often depicted as a man with the head of an ibis, Thoth was considered the keeper of knowledge, a mediator between humans and the gods. He was said to have authored sacred texts and taught humans the arts of literacy, science, and spirituality. Yet, it is important to distinguish between mythology, the stories people use to make sense of their world, and historical fact. There is no ancient Egyptian text confirming that Thoth taught the use of cannabis in ritual or otherwise. What we find instead are modern reinterpretations that blend ancient symbolism with contemporary curiosity. Cannabis is one of the oldest plants cultivated by humans. Archaeological evidence shows its use in China as far back as several thousand years BCE. Early Chinese texts reference hemp fibers for textiles and seeds for nutritious oils. In India, texts known as the Vedas describe a sacred drink called bhang, associated with spiritual practices and seasonal festivals. In Persia and Arabia, references to hashish appear in medieval accounts. Across these diverse contexts, we see not a single ritual, but a tapestry of uses: practical, medicinal, spiritual, and cultural. Cannabis is a plant genus that includes several species, most notably Cannabis sativa and Cannabis indica. These plants contain chemical compounds called cannabinoids. The most well-known are THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, and CBD, cannabidiol. THC is the compound primarily responsible for psychoactive effects, that is, the part that alters perception or mood. CBD, by contrast, does not produce these effects and has been studied for potential therapeutic properties. Modern science has mapped an internal system in the human body called the endocannabinoid system. This system plays a role in regulating mood, appetite, pain, and other physiological processes. Understanding this system is key to understanding why cannabis affects humans the way it does. A ritual is any set of actions performed in a prescribed order, often with symbolic intention. Rituals can be as simple as a morning meditation or as complex as ceremonies marking life transitions. Across cultures, rituals serve to structure experience, create meaning, and help communities connect with ideas larger than themselves. When modern storytellers talk about cannabis rituals or forbidden rites, they are tapping into an age-old human tendency to imbue practices with symbolism, mystery, and sometimes taboo. In the age of the internet, ancient symbols and modern substances intersect in content that blends entertainment, speculation, spirituality, and marketing. It is important to differentiate between imaginative storytelling and historical evidence. Many contemporary videos weave narratives around hidden knowledge. From the Forbidden Book of Thoth to cannabis as a key to esoteric insight. These stories can be compelling, but they are often interpretations, not verifiable facts. Approaching them critically, with awareness of source and intent, allows us to appreciate the narrative without conflating it with historical truth. Cannabis legality varies widely around the world. In some regions, it is legally regulated for medical or recreational use. In others, Possession and distribution carry legal penalties. Health agencies emphasize that cannabis, like any psychoactive substance, carries risks, especially for developing brains, heavy use, or when combined with other substances. Responsible public health guidance focuses on education, harm reduction, and support for people who may experience negative effects. What then do we make of ancient myth and modern narrative surrounding cannabis? Perhaps the value lies not in literal interpretation, but in understanding how humans across time have sought meaning in the natural world. Whether through storytelling, science, ritual, or personal reflection, plants like cannabis have served as one thread in the complex tapestry of human culture. This journey invites us to explore with curiosity and caution, to separate fact from fiction, history from speculation, and to honor both the wisdom of the past and the evidence of today. Throughout history, humanity's relationship with plants has always gone far beyond survival. Plants were not merely food or tools, they were teachers, symbols, medicines, and sometimes mysteries. Among these plants, cannabis occupies a particularly complex position. Long before modern debates, legal frameworks, or cultural divisions, cannabis grew wild across vast regions of Asia. Archaeological discoveries indicate that humans began cultivating hemp more than 10,000 years ago, making it one of the earliest domesticated plants known to civilization. In ancient China, hemp fibers were essential. They were woven into clothing, ropes, fishing nets, and paper. Early Chinese pharmacopoeias reference cannabis seeds as nourishment, while later texts discuss its resin in medical contexts. In India, cannabis developed a very different cultural meaning. Ancient Sanskrit texts describe preparations associated with religious festivals, ascetic traditions, and seasonal rituals. These texts do not frame cannabis as forbidden, nor do they portray it as a miracle substance. Instead, it was viewed as one element within a broader spiritual and medicinal system. Across Central Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Africa, cannabis traveled with trade routes, adapting its role depending on geography, belief, and social structure. What emerges from historical evidence is not a single unified ritual, but a spectrum of uses shaped by culture. There was never one correct way. There was only context. Human beings are storytellers by nature. When knowledge is passed down across generations, it rarely remains unchanged. Facts become legends. Legends become myths. Myths become symbols. This is how figures like Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, evolve across time. In historical Egypt, Thoth was associated with writing, mathematics, astronomy, and record-keeping. He was not a god of intoxication, nor was he connected to specific plants in surviving texts. So why does modern media link him to cannabis? The answer lies in symbolism. Thoth represented hidden knowledge, knowledge that must be earned rather than given. In modern narratives, cannabis is sometimes framed as a key to altered perception or insight. When these ideas collide, storytellers weave them together into compelling narratives of forbidden wisdom. But it is critical to understand this process. These stories are interpretations, not rediscovered ancient truths. They reveal more about modern longing than ancient practice. Across cultures, humans have sought altered states of consciousness in many ways. Through fasting, through meditation, through rhythmic music, through breath control, through chanting, through isolation, through sleep deprivation. Altered states were not pursued for pleasure alone. They were sought for insight, healing, vision, and connection. Anthropologists have documented these practices in indigenous societies worldwide. In many cases, plants played a role, but never in isolation. Modern science has uncovered something ancient cultures could not name, but may have intuitively sensed. Inside the human body exists a complex signaling network known as the endocannabinoid system. This system helps regulate balance, mood, memory, stress response, sleep, appetite. It operates using naturally occurring compounds produced by the body, endocannabinoids, which interact with receptors throughout the brain and nervous system. Cannabis contains compounds that can interact with this system. From the moment humans became self-aware, one question has echoed across time. What is consciousness? Is it merely the byproduct of neurons firing, a cascade of chemical and electrical events in the brain? Or is it something deeper? Something that can't be reduced to matter and motion alone? Ancient cultures lacked our neuroscience, but they were not ignorant. They explored inner landscapes with meticulous attention. Dreams, visions, intuition, and imagination were portals, not distractions. Shamans, priests, and philosophers treated these states as meaningful, codifying practices to honor them. Caves, temples, and sacred groves were intentionally designed to alter awareness. Darkness deepened perception. Silence amplified introspection. Repetition, rhythm, and chant became tools to guide consciousness. The goal was not escape, but understanding. To touch awareness without being consumed by it. Modern culture often frames consciousness as a puzzle to solve, a state to achieve, or a drug to unlock. Yet, historically, altered states were approached with structure, caution, and reverence. The substances or rituals were not the destination. The interpretation and integration of experience were. Pause for reflection. What does it mean to truly know your mind? Humans have always projected meaning onto the natural world. Storms are named, mountains are revered, and animals are attributed personalities. Plants, too, have been anthropomorphized. Teachers, healers, tricksters. This symbolic thinking is not arbitrary. Cognitive psychology reveals that humans instinctively seek patterns and narrative. Plants like cannabis serve as mirrors. The mind filters expectation, perception, and interpretation through belief. Modern psychology confirms this. Expectation shapes perception profoundly. Two people can encounter the same stimulus, a plant, a ritual, a sound, and describe entirely different realities. Meaning is not extracted from the world, it is constructed by the observer. Consider this. How might your own beliefs shape your experience of nature or ritual? Modern psychological research emphasizes two variables critical to altered states: set and setting. Set, the mindset, emotional state, and intention of the individual. Setting, the physical, social, and cultural environment surrounding the experience. Together, these variables often outweigh the influence of the substance or practice itself. Ancient cultures intuited this. Preparation mattered, sacred space mattered, intention mattered. Ritual language persisted across centuries because it framed set and setting, a form of cognitive scaffolding. Ignoring these factors leads to unpredictability, sometimes chaos. Modern seekers often chase intensity, novelty, or forbidden knowledge, forgetting that the container for experience is as crucial as the content. Today, algorithms mediate our spiritual imagination. Platforms reward content that is mysterious, shocking, or emotionally charged. Words like hidden, ancient, and forbidden accelerate engagement. This creates a feedback loop. Creators exaggerate claims, audiences reinforce the allure. Nuance disappears. The danger is not curiosity. The danger is certainty without evidence. When symbols are consumed as commodities rather than tools for reflection, misunderstanding proliferates. Belief is a force more powerful than most realize. It shapes perception, memory, and emotional response. Neurological studies show that expectation and belief activate the same brain regions as direct experience. Rituals, even symbolic ones, feel real because they harness this principle. But this power comes with responsibility. What is presented as truth affects perception, behavior, and sometimes well-being. True mysticism illuminates. It invites humility, inquiry, and awareness. It clarifies rather than obscures. Mystification clouds understanding, substituting awe and authority for comprehension. When substances or symbols are framed as sacred keys, the mind may conflate the container with the content. Ancient traditions warned against this. Modern narratives often overlook it. Symbols endure because the human brain craves representation. Logos, icons, memes, and aesthetics have replaced carvings, statues, and manuscripts. Thoth, once etched into stone, now appears in digital art, neon geometry, and cosmic visuals. The medium changes, but the impulse to see ourselves in symbols remains. No experience replaces daily consciousness. Profound insight without grounding becomes confusion. Experience without integration becomes obsession. Ancient traditions emphasized return to body, community, and responsibility. Without return, insight destabilizes. Anxiety, dissociation, or psychosis can be amplified by altered states. Mental health frameworks emphasize stability, gradual exploration, and support. This perspective is protective, not restrictive. Plants do not teach. Humans learn. When people claim a plant told them something, it is an internal reflection. Awareness and discernment remain within the mind, not in the plant. In an age of information overflow, discernment is intelligence. Thoughtful evaluation preserves curiosity without surrendering it. Discernment is the true inheritance of ancient wisdom. Depth requires time. Silence teaches more than stimulation. Stillness reveals more than novelty. Patience is not passive. It is active engagement with the flow of understanding. Stories of plants, gods, and rituals reveal human nature. They show fear, hope, and longing. Wisdom grows slowly, through attention, humility, and care. The path remains open. Human inquiry is a continuum, stretching across time, space, and experience. Every ritual, every symbol, every substance explored, and every story told is part of this unfolding journey. Yet the ultimate lesson is simple. The teacher has always been within. Awareness, reflection, and discernment are the tools we carry. External symbols, sacred plants, and ancient texts act as amplifiers, mirrors that guide attention, but they cannot replace inner observation. Wisdom grows in the patient practice of noticing, questioning, and integrating. It grows when insight is paired with responsibility, when curiosity is balanced with reflection, when the mind is present and the heart is steady. The experiences we seek, whether mystical, symbolic, or chemical, are invitations, not guarantees. They point toward understanding, not away from it. They ask us to participate fully, to remain humble, and to honor both the depth of human consciousness and the fragility of perception. So slow down, reflect deeply, engage with care. Let symbols, stories, and rituals illuminate, but never dictate. Let your own mind, your own awareness, and your own ethical attention be the compass. This is the path of responsible curiosity. This is the inheritance of ancient and modern wisdom alike. And in that patient, attentive journey, the mysteries of life are not solved. They are lived, understood, and carried forward with care. Thank you for joining this exploration of consciousness, symbolism, and human experience. May your path be guided by reflection, discernment, and humility. May curiosity remain your companion, tempered by awareness. And may every experience, whether ordinary or extraordinary, become a step toward deeper understanding.